Hello, guys. This is Jack, and today we're going to be talking about the best films of 2026 so far. This is definitely a great time to kind of like talk about these films because we are kind of like moving forward to the fall film festival season, and I kind of want to like dive into some of my favorite films that I've seen so far this year. Please check out the most underrated films from this year so far video on my YouTube channel, and of course you can follow me on all socials. Please like, share, comment, do whatever you can to spread the word out for this video. And also follow me on Pop Topic, where I'm writing reviews now. And I think, honestly, with this list over here, I'm not going to go super deep into my honorable mentions because I will be writing them on Pop Topic. So keep an eye out for that article. But for now, let's kind of like dive into my top 10 best films of 2026.
10.
Are you?
I wrote a really long review for this film on the site if you want to take a look at my reasonings to why I think this film is worth your time. Please do so, because I will say that this film really shows the underbelly of anarchy through the eyes of several men in the film. Some of the men in the film are unable to express themselves internally and externally in a society that throws them away, which is pretty fascinating, to say the least, as this tale explores deeper into the idea of performative activism and how it can be destructive for everyone around, no matter what side you are on in the political landscape. As far as this film goes, I think Asa Butterfield and Jaden Martell give really committed performances as these two characters who are incels and are trying to escape from their respective places in the world, and they tout their sense of like masculinity and pure rage through several scenes of like homoeroticism with guns. And it certainly is one of those films where it is going to rustle some jimmies, and it is something that is also really needed today in our segmented film world. But I had a blast watching this. This was just fucking hilarious, and I want more films that actually provoke and make people cringe in their seats.
Why did you rape me?
Baltazar, you can't say shit like that. Hey.
Blue Film is one of those films where I can't really talk about it on this channel because it is one of those films that is very controversial, and it might actually put me in a spot where I might get my channel deleted. But I will say this, queer disruption in both media and society has been sort of regressive ever since gay marriage was the law of the land, and being queer without some sort of fear is now the norm. Especially now, since back in the 80s and 90s, queer filmmakers were able to express themselves without having any monetary boundaries or restrictions. Since then, queer cinema has been kind of at like a chill state. Every year and once or every few years, you get a queer film that is about like a coming of age story, or is something that is like amplified in a way where it's a tragedy or a self-reflection of what sexual nature these people are. Blue Film brings back that edginess that was lost in time now in our current era of the woke era. Basically, this film is, without spoiling the film, the essence of a person named Aaron Eagle, who is a cam boy and is trying to express himself through dominant force in any sexual situation. So during a night of having fun on the internet, this cam boy decides to go to his client in this house where this client is going to pay him thousands of dollars to, have sex with him. Of course, what happens in this film turns very horrifying in a way where I can't really explain, but the client, Hank Grant, played by Reed Birney, is someone of importance to Aaron. These both characters are trying to figure out themselves, but also reveal something deeply early on in the film that really sets the tone of the film and how these characters are interacting with each other. And from the get-go, the audience can either be entertained by the excess of guilt inside or outside of the characters' minds, but I think what also is brilliant about this film is that it doesn't shy away from like the terror of these conversations. They actually go about with these conversations and they really go super deep into those conversations. And I kind of like compare this to Dennis Cooper book, basically where Dennis Cooper, the novelist, is really trying to provoke a certain audience to really think about how these characters or other characters inside of the queer community are going about their days with their like sexual adventures. And I think this film kind of has that same kind of type of vibe in a way, where it is trying to provoke and also make the audience squirm in their seats. But I think the director, Elliot Turtle, does a really good job contextually using Cooper's style of provocative expertise for entertainment. And I think Reed Birney and Kieran Moore aren't afraid of showing their own bodies and also kind of going deep into the depths of depravity in humanity. And I think at the end of the day, we really need queer artists to really push the boundaries and push the buttons in this landscape of filmmaking. I think this film does a tremendous job doing so, and it does it in strides.
You want more?
Now, with this next film over here, it's another controversial film, but I think for better lack of word, because of just how big this film came out for wider audiences, and I was really surprised by how it really hit with a lot of people who aren't really familiar with this director's works, or just like really attentive to like adult dramas now in theaters. And I think the drama, the film itself, is just quite fascinating. And you'll find something very progressive with this film, as Borgeli, the director, is trying to ask questions about how far a person will go to save themselves, even when their past actions were conflicting others. In fact, the absurdity of this concept alone is what sells the film. And Zendaya shows multiple avenues of range in this film as she plays the woman who is at odds with the person she is about to marry. And the same sentiments kind of flip with Robert Pattinson's character and how he's trying to breathe through the newfound information in which Emma, Zendaya's character, is going through from her past. Borgeli pushes every single cringe button in the book while also offering an accessible adult drama that actually says something about how we communicate as young people. Alana Haim's performance is memorizing and also skin-crawling for a really good reason, and by the end of the film, you will know why that is. And I think highlighting this certain type of performance from Alana Haim really shows what the film is trying to say about like these types of themes. And again, like I just had a blast watching this film, and it sparked a lot of great conversations with other people around me in the theater, outside the world, and I'm just really happy that this film took off this year.
That's some drama.
I haven't been particularly a fan of Nadiv Lapid's work. Honestly, for me, his films are kind of like sparse as far as like addressing what life is in Israel. But I think this new film over here, yes, really redefines the director's own artistic sensibilities. You basically have a musician who is proficient in his field and is hired to write a national anthem for the country of Israel. And in between all the creation of the music, bombs and guns are going off past the West Bank. The musician is really trying to figure out how to go about with all of this, while also really trying to believe what is going on, and is he really against it or is he for it? The morals of war and terror is exemplified through the blend of surrealism, bluntness, and the biting down of commodification of information warfare in the country. And I think the director really showcases this through the spirits of Federico Fellini's own sensibilities with surrealism. And the scenarios do play out just like a surrealist film. The musical numbers are very joyous and expressive, and there aren't really any like detours that don't make sense for what this film is trying to say about artistic integrity. The final act of this film is filled with intense monologues about war and how war changes people. And this is one of those films where it really defines what is going on in Gaza and how it is a genocide and how it really is not entirely like a solution to the matters as far as showing what music can do and whatnot. And again, I think this film really tries to sympathize and empathize with the artists who are living in these dire situations, and I think the director does a really fucking great job with it, and I highly recommend it as someone who has gone to Israel and knows and understands both sides of the spectrum.
Israel comes to me in my dreams!
Two crazy Canadians have created a satire on commercialism and the fears of being an artist in a space where everything is closed off. Matt Johnson and Jay McCarroll are best friends in real life and are best friends in this continuation of the beloved web series. The film version of this web series is their biggest feat to date. Matt and Jay want to play the infamous Rivioli Cafe in Toronto. They've done so many stunts over the years that have failed miserably. So out of sheer ignorance for anyone around them, they decide to use a time machine to go back in time to 2008 so that they can change the trajectory of their lives. Maybe they have, killed themselves in the past or in the future or whatever to do with the future and how to change it. But Matt Johnson's style of comedy is filled with death-defying stunts and basically moments where you're just like, how did they do that? And you don't really have to really watch the web series to know what Matt and Jay are up to in this film, but you just have to really feel the absurdity and live with it. And I think this film does that in strides, and I'm just really happy like this film was made under a small budget. And again, if you haven't seen the web series, I highly recommend watching it. It is on Hulu as I am talking about it right now, and I highly recommend watching this film because it is easily one of the funniest films that you'll see in your lifetime.
Hold on for now. No!
Now, this next film over here, the placement is kind of controversial solely because of what the film was being sold to for wider audiences. I think Disclosure Day is going to be one of those films that is appreciated over time. This is sort of like a return to form regarding to how Spielberg used to operate in the sci-fi landscape. Sure, this film is kind of like a relic of its time. It does operate like an early 2010s film, but I think Spielberg earnestly brings back the curiosity of aliens and how the world would change if they were able to be disclosed to a wider audience. I think Emily Blunt delivers her finest performance as a weather woman who randomly starts to become the main character of an extraordinary phenomenon of extraterrestrial life. The film's message about empathy is truly needed in a time where it is non-existent in our catacombs of society, and I think also has fun with the action set pieces and espionage of it all. Without spoiling the film or the ending, there isn't really anything to fool yourself with that in mind. It's basically all about the journey and how these characters are going about their days as the world is slowly collapsing beneath their feet. It is also an escapist film, and it also goes super deep into like religion, like how religion is basically discarded long after this revelation of alien life exists in our own society and world and universe. But I just had a blast watching this. This was just goofy in a sentimental way. It does operate like a M. Night Shyamalan film from like the 2000s, but like those types of films really speak to me in some way, and I have like a nostalgic aesthetic to those types of films. And yeah, like I had so much fun watching this, and I'm just glad that Spielberg was able to make this type of film in this type of landscape where we don't really have these types of films being made anymore. But yeah, that's why I love this film, and that's why it is at this spot over here.
Neptune's table, ordered a lobster, you do that funny thing with the claws. It always makes her laugh. 4.
You know, imagine a YouTuber with basically a small 700K budget mogging the shit out of big Hollywood in 2026. And to my surprise, this wild statement really holds in. And I think Curry Barker just did that in strides with Obsession, as this is basically a long line of like elevated horror films that take a wild concept and spins it into new heights. I don't really need to talk about the plot of this film. You already are aware of what the film is about. But I will say this, over the past couple months, I'm just really happy to see these types of films be seen and heard for a wider audience and just around the world, especially now since there's like a lot of like high budget films that are flopping for good reasons, like Moana and Masters of the Universe, IPs that are overdone, tired, and just are retreadable. And I think Obsession is really breaking the ground as far as making original films that speak to a generation that really is needed for the seats of the theaters. It does certainly live up to the hype, in my personal opinion. But also, I think at the same time, I'm just really happy to see that this film broke out long after its TIFF premiere last year at the Midnight Madness section. And again, I'm just really happy to see this film be seen and heard. And if you have not seen this film, like, what are you doing? Like, fucking check it out, bro.
Kiss the person on your left.
Olivia Wilde has survived the onslaught of hatred in the media after her flop, Don't Worry Darling. She has gone back to the basics, as The Invite is a bottle film about two couples coming together to discuss their sexual pleasures. And Wilde plays herself in this film alongside Seth Rogen, Edward Norton, and Penelope Cruz. All the performances around are quite stunning and hilarious to watch in real time. It's basically operating like a bottle film where you're stuck in an apartment for the entire runtime, and all of these characters are just rattling their grievances with each other. And Rogen especially goes deeper into the tragedy of a marriage that is falling apart, and how this type of relationship is slowly crumbling because a partner isn't communicating on a certain common ground. The witness of the actual screenplay and the acting in this film is very impeccable and beautiful to experience on the big screen. And it is one of the most laugh-loud comedies that you will see and hear so far this year. And I'm just really happy that this film is still being made in theaters. I'm really sad that this film didn't really take off with a wider audience financially. But I think now, since the film is starting to pick up with a lot of people on the big screen and just now slowly turning to digital release, I think now is a perfect time to seek this film out. And again, I'm going to be fucking annoying about this film long after its release, because it's going to play a big splash during this award season. So yeah, man, like I fucking loved this film, and certainly if you want something that's really funny and very poetic and poignant, I highly recommend this film through and through.
Join us.
Us.
Me too.
You know, the apt comparison of this film, Blue Heron, being just like Aftersun, is definitely warranted to a moderate extent. While yes, this film does deal with grief through the eyes of a family member who is trying to dissect a certain pain in their past, I do think this film takes a different approach to the matter compared to Aftersun. I think the scrappy digital video aesthetic is somehow mirrored towards the audience's distance of all the characters from the past. The actual reveal of what happened to the character Jeremy in the future takes a certain backseat until it is really needed to be explained in the film. And I think Sophie understands this and doesn't really hold back with that notion, while also not really holding the audience's hand by over-explaining the situation at hand. You are inside of the POV of the main character, Sasha, and how they are going about with their daily challenges with their brother, Jeremy. If you have kind of like grown up in the 90s or kind of remember any sense of like a childhood, I think this film will really bring you back to those memories of pain and suffering, to say the least, that should have, could have, or would have been inflicted by some family member or a friend in your past. And I think the type of person who stabbed you in the back, metaphorically and spiritually, is there and intact in this film. And certainly I think this film really dives super deep into that notion. And I will say this, bring your tissues, because this will definitely fuck you up, to say the least. And you know what? You already know my number one, because I've been glazing the fuck out of this film for the past couple weeks, ever since I saw it. And it's the fucking Odyssey, bro. Like, one of the best films of the year so far. I had a fucking blast watching this film in 70mm twice and in digital IMAX with my dad. I don't really need to explain why that is. I wrote a really long review on Pop Topic. I did the video. I explained why these fucking chuds are going feral about the box office records for this film and the critical praise and like the general audience praise. But if you have not seen this film, what the fuck are you doing? Exit this video, go see the movie, see it with your own two eyes, avoid all the, chud behavior on the catacombs of the internet, because Christopher Nolan has delivered probably his finest film to date with The Odyssey, and he does really kind of like remix the story, but in a way where it is very beautiful and attentive to his own artistic sensibilities. And I think this film is one of the most defining films of the 2020s so far. Matt Damon gives his finest performance as Odysseus. There's other actors in this film who are doing exceptional work, like incredible shit. But yeah, man, like, I don't really need to explain myself with this film. I already talked in length why I love this film, and certainly this will be in the top 10 by the end of the year. And you know what? That's basically it. Thank you guys so much for clicking this video. I will be doing more movie reviews and other stuff. Again, please like, share, subscribe. Do whatever you can to spread the word out for this video. It really helps the algorithm, and it just really helps my channel. And also, follow me on all socials. Check out Pop Topic, a website where all of my buddies are reviewing movies, talking about other things. I just had one of my friends talk about one of the best musicals around modern times, Hadestown, and the Pro Shot that just came out just this past week in theaters. Please read his review for that. Also read, other reviews from my colleagues on the website. And you know what? I'm just gonna, dip out. Thank you guys. Peace out.